how this looks working with my clients. So I have two tracks in my work. I train people, right, in neuro-linguistic programming and hypnosis if they want certification and provide it to other people. And then I also, people just want to receive the work. So in the reception mode of the work, we're really breaking down the intricacies of your habit, pattern, or behavior. Every Sunday, I tend to overeat. Okay, let's break it down. Where does it initially begin? How do you feel in your body when that happens? What's the experience that you're having? And then we can peel back the layers and then give them what they need to add in, right? That they experience a different result. And then they keep practicing that over time. And now all of a sudden you have actually lasting behavior change.
Welcome to Stress Free SOULutions with Sarah. I'm your host, Sarah Elise, a stress management and fitness coach, advocating the world to trust their gut more often. I discuss various ways to manage stress and share personal stories of guest experts who have gone through the same stressors as all of you at home. Hey there, super moms of the universe. Let's play a game called hide and seek. No, not with your kids or that mysteriously vanishing left sock. It's time to seek out you in the everyday hide and seek of life. Introducing Mastering the Soul System, a 12-week journey to reclaim your time and energy. This course is your gateway to finding balance, energy, and joy in every aspect of your bustling life. Picture this: 12 weeks where the words mom and mayhem don't always go together. Rediscover yourself with every breath in our Soulful Mind Weeks. Sing out loud in the shower or car. Off-key is absolutely fine. And dance during our Soulful Body sessions. And embrace the quiet whispers of your heart in our Soulful Spirit adventures. It's about time your spirit got a front row seat, don't you think? Join us on this journey. Embrace the harmony between being a dedicated mom and your personal aspirations. Mastering the soul system, because darling, in the noise, find your silence. And maybe, just maybe, a bit of that elusive thing called me time. You deserve to thrive, not just survive. So come on, slide into our world at www.livewellenhanceyou.com/soul system. Your journey back to you starts now. Leslie M. Thornton is the founder of Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, a movement that empowers career-driven professional women to revolutionize their relationship with food, body, and weight so they can reach peak performance at work, make more money, hit their goals, and achieve breakthroughs in all areas of life. She's the host of the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast, where she shares about her own personal journey and the journeys of hundreds of her clients who have dealt with the constant ups and downs of weight loss. She also features the stories of other top-performing entrepreneurs who have accomplished extraordinary goals by harnessing the power of the subconscious mind, inspiring her audience to know that they can do this too. Prior to founding Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, Leslie served as a registered nurse in the surgical and neuro ICU and kidney transplant, where she helped patients achieve their weight loss goals through hypnosis. She is also a board-certified hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming trainer and certified coach through the International Coach Academy, accredited by the Coach Federation. Outside of Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, she is a philanthropist dedicated to the elimination of human trafficking and exploitation of men, women, and children worldwide. Her client list includes directors of international banks, CEOs of global health, and social justice organizations that provide high-quality healthcare globally to those who need it most. Those that are in the healthcare professions, including doctors, nurses, pharmacists, university professors, and other professionals with a drive for more. Leslie You're extraordinary. And I'm so glad that we are chatting today. How are you?
I'm doing so well, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to our conversation for sure.
Me too. Me too. What really is remarkable to me is that you were a nurse and decided that you had a deeper calling.
I
W-
did.
What made you decide to break free from being day in and day out in the hospital in the unit?
Mhm. Yeah, great question. To me, it just felt intolerable to not be doing something that felt deeply connected to my heart, to my soul. And, I saw a lot of amazing nurses and I was deemed as an amazing nurse as well. But the ones that I saw as amazing, that they were amazing because they personally had experiences with kidney transplant or with trauma or family in the hospital. And fortunately, I hadn't had that kind of experience in my past, but there's just a deeper heart that you can bring to your profession when you really get it.
Mm.
And for me, when I saw my patients who were really trying to get on the kidney transplant list, and one of those things that you need to do is be a certain amount of weight, and they just couldn't stop eating and they're crying to me saying, I'm going to die and I can't. And then surgeons getting really angry and saying, well, if they just stopped eating that, then they wouldn't have an issue and having no tolerance for that. And me, just from my own personal experience, getting what it's like to not be able to stop eating
Mhm.
and to feel completely out of control those habits, it just that in tangent with my having the experience of hypnosis, which I was super skeptical of when I first found it, but it made a huge impact in my life. Knowing that I had something that could help them, and I tried for a while to kind of bring hypnosis into the hospital, but hit a bunch of walls. And yeah, but then I made a decision that was a very tough one, that I would rather spend my time and energy and effort building my own movement to
Mm.
help people with this and sharing the message that I knew would actually help people struggling with the same thing that I was, rather than fighting a very big system that has a lot of challenges with it. So,
Yeah. Where did you even start?
yeah, well, first I was working part time as a nurse, and then I was doing part time with coaching and getting my education in hypnosis and neuro-linguistic programming, as well as coaching, and was just really learning how to make it possible, how to make it happen. And as I started working with clients and building my skills and my confidence and learning the business side of how to actually provide it as a service, eventually I got brave enough, and actually you could look at it as I didn't. I started a meditation practice because I was so miserable with my nursing job, just because I really believe that if we're out of alignment, if we're being meant to do something else, then our body kind of can get really anxious, and I was. So started meditation practice, and one day during meditation, I got a download that was just like, "Thy will be done," which I would never say to myself. It's just like this booming, like, voice, kinda clairvoyant audio, whatever, that came through, and in that moment, I knew that I was safe to make the plunge and go out on my own. So that was in 2015, and I've been doing it full time ever since.
Wow, 2015. So you've been doing this now for a long time.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep.
What have you found that has been beneficial when your clients let go and be open to hypnosis?
Mhm. It's where the journey arguably can really completely begin. And I will say that it is true, just with surrender in and of itself. Yeah, when we can actually, and it takes a while for humans to get to this point, but you've tried so hard with the uphill battle and doing all the things to lose weight or reach any goal that you're trying to reach. And you kind of get to the end of your rope and raise your white flag and surrender and just put your hands in the air and say, I have absolutely no idea. And the free fall, yeah, and but then from that space of surrender, that's when all the beauty can come in, etcetera. So, when clients come to me, they if they're in a space where they're open to looking into hypnosis, they're usually at that point of just exhaustion. I think to most people, hypnosis makes them feel like it's gonna be something that will allow them to relax and breathe and let go and also hit their goals. Yeah, it's just really beautiful when I can have a conversation with them and show them. that hypnosis is super powerful is the first thing that I found. And it's not the only solution, to use your word, because I do love that word, to having permanent freedom around this area of your life. So there's also emotional mastery necessary, learning how
Right.
to really feel the emotions that lead to the emotional eating in the first place, as well as getting aligned with your authentic self, and
Mm.
then really learning and implementing that lasting self-care. And that's my heal method that I use in my work.
Would that be the primary reason why people are not able to lose weight? Would you say it's mindset or is it specifically food?
Yeah, great question. It's honestly, it could be all of the above. It's a holistic approach. The way that I describe it to people that I think has been illustrating it really well to help people understand has been, if we imagine that when we begin our life, we start it like, say that life is a lake or a body of water, and we're swimming in the lake. And at first, as a kid, you're just like happy and free and playing and like, oh my gosh, no bad could happen. And then something happens that creates negative emotion in the body. And so we experience panic and fear and all those types of things. And so what do we do to prevent ourselves from drowning? We'll grab onto the first thing we can grab onto. And for many of us, that ends up being food. And it's so available
Mm-hmm.
and for so many of us. And so there we go. And so it's like, wow, and that worked, right? That prevented me from drowning. And then we might start putting on weight.
Yeah.
And then we get the feedback from society that this is bad, or from your doctor or your parents, right? This is bad that you're gaining weight. So now you feel panicked again. You're scared, fearful, don't know what to do. So you cling on to the next thing that you can figure out that's going to bring safety, a diet. And so your whole life, we're just going back and forth between the food and the diet to give ourselves that emotional safety. And we think that that's the answer.
Yeah.
But where people really find freedom and healing from this is when we can let go of both of the diet and the food. And my favorite thing to do is actually teach my clients how to swim.
Mm.
Yeah, swim to the other side, actually, because we think we're getting farther in the lake, but we're actually just holding ourselves back by holding on to these things. So, again, circling back to that surrender. And that can be so scary when we've been dieting since, on average, I think it's like 80% of women by age 10 are on a diet.
Yep.
Brand new, but it is possible and it's really worth it and beautiful on the other side.
Wow. I never really thought of it like that, but I think also in our climate that we're currently living in, I do feel we tend to grab towards safety and it's January, right? So we tend to do New Year's resolutions and it's about diet, new you 2.0, but it's not necessarily about loving yourself, putting your needs first because you've always put everyone else's, or it's about whatever's happening out in the world and not tapping into what you need right now if you're not feeling good about everything around you. So to those that are kind of experiencing the New Year blues, what do you recommend that they do during this time?
Yeah, I think just that honest conversation with yourself on what actually would feel aligned and good for you. I think that if we're just putting, what we think we should be doing, or you might actually feel an itch to want to take better care of yourself, but maybe allow yourself to get a little bit more creative with what would that actually look like if I could have it anyway. Also asking yourself, like, if I was on an island by myself and no one could look at me or judge me on the way that I was eating or the way I was taking care of myself or my health, what would I be doing? And give yourself permission to really do that. I've had clients come to me that say, I just intuitively knew that there had to be a deeper root cause to my issue. And for that, it's like then paying attention to that and being like, okay, so where is that? Right. And then making a decision to find that, because we're going to be consistent with something that's actually aligned to our soul, aligned to our heart. In this time, you're not the same person that you were last year or the year before. And yet we keep slapping the same intention every single year. And then
Yep.
we have the experience of feeling like we're failures every year. When in reality, again, if you can get really clear on what is your truth now and this month, then yeah, find it and then take action on it.
I love that. Now, how can then you live that life that you're so desperately trying to attain? I know you mainly talk about like living a life by design. How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. It actually gets pretty fun. So, our unconscious minds are designed to keep us safe. And so, oftentimes, we try to motivate ourselves through fear, whether that's consciously or unconsciously. And while it can work, what I find is eventually, as we continue evolving and we've done enough fear based dieting in the past based on whatever we're running away from, we get to a space where we're burnt out from that, that it doesn't feel good anymore. And to flip it and go towards something that actually inspires you and, yeah, brings you more energy and light to think about it rather than what you're running away from. So, a way that you can identify this is if you ask yourself, say your goal is you want to lose X amount of pounds this year, then say, once I lose X amount of pounds, then what will I be able to do? What will that bring me? And you might find different things like I'll have more confidence, I'll be excited about buying new clothes and going and being more social and having more energy, all amazing intentions. And when we're really looking to have lasting success with these types of things, what I would invite someone to do who it speaks to is to challenge yourself to see how you can start doing those things now. How can you feel confident in your clothes right now? How can you create more energy in the now? Because the truth is, so because we've had diet experience in the past and we know how good it feels to see the scale go down and down and down and down and down because you're being so perfect with your diet and you get that dopamine rush, your brain actually thinks that the only way that you can be happy and achieve those things is to lose weight. And what I want to say is that that is a temporary drug release that is
Mhm.
giving you that temporary high.
Yeah.
And therefore, your whole life, you're going to be chasing that high. And it's not authentic. It does feel good, but it's not lasting. So if you're sick of the short term, which if the short term and the dopamine rush and whatever is what you wanna do and you are aware of the whole like, then go for it. Yeah, there's no it's whatever speaks to you, but if you're tired of it and you don't want to feel the way that you do at the end when you start putting the weight back on again
Mhm.
and feel even worse than you started out with again, then this is where this conversation gets to exist of looking at those deeper understandings. So yeah, how can I buy a new even one new outfit that fits my body today and see how that translates to better feelings now that leads you to then take better actions. And then along that way, you get to discover what does make you feel good. And that's really the journey that I bring my clients through in the program as well, but because oftentimes if you started dieting so young, like, you don't even know what activities you really love. You don't really know who you are fully. You don't really have an understanding of your emotions and your thoughts. For a lot of my clients, it's giving them a safe place to actually learn about themselves, about their bodies, about how they like to eat, how they don't wanna eat. Because if you're following somebody else's plan, somebody else's rule book, it's never authentic, it's never yours.
Yeah.
And so therefore it won't last.
What are some common emotions that come up for people?
Mhm. Guilt. A lot of people either they're very aware of their anger or they're not. They're suppressing it and they don't think they have any, but it's a major one. Anger is a big thing that drives us to the cabinet. Sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, all the negative emotions. Definitely negative self-talk, judging yourself. Why are you doing that? You know you shouldn't be eating that. What's wrong with you? Yeah, all of it.
So obviously goal setting, and that's a unique way of goal setting. I really love that. I think my audience is going to take that piece and run with it. But how then can you then delete or omit this diet mentality that we've been so programmed in
Mhm.
for the future?
Yeah, it takes time. So you think about how many decades we've been programming the diet mentality in. So having lots of compassion for self and not expecting that those thoughts won't still be there initially. And when you notice that those thoughts are coming up, of just kind of saying like, thank you, I see you. That's a diet thought that I got from XYZ diet I followed in the past. And I'm doing something new now.
Yeah.
And then making a decision from a space of what the new, yeah, learning is for you now.
With hypnosis, there's a couple of things that people believe. One misconception is that it will change you completely. And then another one is that it will heal you and you won't go back. So, can you share a bit more of what hypnosis can actually bring to the person?
Yeah, definitely. So what's so cool about it is that whatever you believe is exactly what you're going to get. And that goes for every single thing that all of us do in our life. If you believe something's going to work for you, it will work for you. Dr. Joe Dispenza, I've actually done some work. He's a leader of coaching and consciousness. And he did a study on spontaneous remissions of different people had these life-threatening diseases, and these people spontaneously remiss. And so what he found in his research was that not everybody believed in God, not everybody didn't believe in God, not everybody did a fast or vitamin C infusions or chemotherapy, or like none of that was in common. But the one thing that they all had in common was whatever form of treatment that they chose, they believed with 100% certainty that it was going to cure them, and they surrendered to that.
Oh, wow. Huh.
So this is where it goes back to the importance of it feeling aligned for you. It feels like truth for you. And then you surrendering and just putting all of your focus and intention on that, because that's what's going to happen. So with hypnosis specifically, when I have clients who come on and they're like, I believe in it, I love it, I'm open to it, I'm excited for it, I'm whatever. Boom, after one hypnosis session, my last client that I had like that, he hated fruits and vegetables prior. He can't stop eating fruits and vegetables now. He could not sleep in the past. He's sleeping like a baby, like all these things. And people come back and they'll say like, Leslie, like you're a magician, and it's just like, I'm just someone that's guiding it. And your belief system is what has allowed this to occur. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if someone is a little bit more closed off or a little unsure, well, then you're probably gonna get a little bit of, unsure, whatever. And what I'd
Resistant.
recommend, a little resistance, right? You're gonna get what you believe. So, my job, I also, prioritize educating people on what it is, the science of how it actually works, to give people the best chance to be as open as possible to receive it and receive the benefits. And I'm also very open and transparent that hypnosis was not the only thing that it took for me to get the full freedom around food, body, and weight. It was a helpful tool. It showed me that there was a deeper something going on than what I
Mm.
had anticipated. My experience was, after my first hypnosis session, I woke up the next day and I knew the thoughts that would normally immediately flood my mind. How much did I eat last night? Did I overdo it? What's for breakfast today? Is there going to be enough of it? How can I last throughout the day without this? Like crazy kind of scarcity based thinking around food, body, and weight. I knew they would normally be there, but this specific morning, I felt like I was able to actually I was sitting back inside my body and more seeing them and not controlled by them.
Mhm.
I used to
Okay.
feel like there was an energetic cord pulling me to the refrigerator, to the cabinet, that just completely took over, which is very scary for anyone who gets that. And so just the hypnosis that first time, of me actually feeling like I wasn't panicked about going to a party or a buffet and completely being out of control anymore, was just like such a relief and like all I wanted, because I actually had a fear that if I wasn't dieting or managing my eating, that I was going to end up on that show, My 600 Pound Life. I literally thought I had what it took to get that obese. And maybe I did, but what I am now educating people is especially like the richest part of my work is the emotional mastery piece of if you can feel through the fear and panic. I had a client, brand new client who was on our coaching call last night and she was talking about all the Halloween candy that was brought into work last Halloween and how she just was like in like the whole day she was just thinking about it and it was calling her name and da 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 and it's just a real thing, and it's so distracting, but we just had a session today and had a repair from early in her childhood, and she released some tears, and she didn't have that same panic or fear around food anymore, so it can
Mm.
happen a lot faster than people think, but yeah, it's, again, so worth it to do the deep dive and inner work to get the freedom.
What's the difference between hypnosis and then neuro-linguistic programming?
Yeah. So there wouldn't be hypnosis without neuro-linguistic programming.
Really?
Yeah, neuro-linguistic programming is fascinating. It's the way that I look at it is the building blocks of matter is atoms, and the building blocks of communication, which is how we get anything to happen in our world. That communication is just energy, right, is neuro-linguistic programming. And the way that I also describe it is if we've ever done anything like if you ever get a lesson in a sport, for example. So say you already go golfing and you're okay at whacking a ball and maybe you do a little course or something and you're okay at it. And then you go and you're like, I'm going to get lessons. Well, as soon as someone starts pointing out all these little tiny details of your swing, it might feel like you're actually getting worse before you get better. So we're all practicing, obviously, communication and just how to be with people and produce results, et cetera, all day long. So we're kind of aware of it. And then when you go to get trained in neurolinguistic programming, you're given all the little like intricacies of how to communicate and right in a way that actually moves energy and can support people to make decisions in alignment with themselves and et
Mm.
cetera. So it can feel a little wonky at first, but then through repetition, it then becomes how you automatically move in the world. So how this looks working with my clients. So I have two tracks in my work. I train people, right, in neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis if they want certification and provide it to other people. And then I also people just want to receive the work. So in the reception mode of the work, we're really breaking down the intricacies of your habit, pattern, or behavior. Every Sunday, tend to overeat. Okay, let's break it down. Where does it initially begin? How do you feel in your body when that happens? What's the experience that you're having? And then we can peel back the layers and then give them what they need to add in that's going to make it so the next time they take a swing on Sunday, if you will,
Mm.
right, that they experience a different result, and then they keep practicing that over time, and, oh, now all of a sudden you have actually lasting behavior change.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I never, for some reason, I never connected the two together. I always thought it was like one separate entity. And I don't
Yeah,
know. Maybe that's just because of how people have presented it on my podcast. And that's what's so great about having a variety of people. And probably because you have those two certifications and they really meld well together.
totally, yeah, and to fully connect the dots between NLP and hypnosis, so the language patterns is part of neurolinguistic programming, so there's a section in neurolinguistic programming where you're teaching specifically hypnotic language patterns. You can use those in regular language that still supports someone to be in a flow state, and obviously I only use NLP and train people who are using it for good,
Yeah.
because there is the alternative part of it, but if there's anything that we can do as leaders to communicate in a way that's going to actually support someone in feeling safe enough to move forward and change their life in a positive way we know can help them, then let's do the best that we can to learn how to do that for people so we can do that in day-to-day language, and then we can intentionally apply hypnotic language patterns to a formal hypnosis script that then allows the unconscious mind to be receptive to that positive message geared towards what the client wants and then produces that result in the physical.
For anyone that has experienced deep trauma or loss, does it take several sessions to really dig deep into what's really going on there? Why all the weight, if you will, is like over consuming?
Yeah, every client's a little bit different. And so I always have a conversation with people to see if this would require more of a trauma specialist for it or someone who has already started to do some work on it. And I feel confident could kind of handle going towards it and know that we can heal on the other side. So if someone meets that requirement that I would have, it's really a lot faster than people think. So I'll have people that come in that are like, oh, I would consider this like a PTSD situation that happened. There's really powerful neuro-linguistic programming tools where so with that trauma thing that happens, so what happens is the event happens and it was so significant that the nervous system basically memorizes every single component of how to do that inner trauma in the body. And
Mhm.
so we, again, same as the golf instructor would unpack exactly how you're swinging, I'm unpacking with my client exactly how they're doing the trauma. So it's like first I feel panic in the body. Then I say to myself, everything's falling apart. Then I feel myself get hot. Then I start shaking, right? So we unpack what the body has memorized to do. And then we actually scramble the trauma around in like a fun way. Seems a little silly, but then we ask the client to try to do the trauma response again, and they cannot retrieve it the same way after it's just scrambled that one time.
Hmm.
Uh, but that provides a very instant relief from it. And while they still might remember it, it still might bother them, right? And we continue to do our work from there. It will never be as significant again after you really, yeah, unpack it at its source like that.
Can you explain more about scramble of the body? Like, what does that entail?
Yeah, so not necessarily scrambling the body, but scrambling how the mind is doing the
Oh, okay.
procedure of the traumatic response that does affect how your body feels.
Oh,
So, for example, I'll have the client tell me exactly how to do their problem. And then I'll say, okay, well, let me make sure I got it right. And so on purpose, this is how you're trained to do it, as an NLP trainer. I'll be like, okay, so first I need to say to myself, this is the worst thing that could ever happen to me. And I say it in a Donald Duck voice, so like whatever. And they're like, right, it like scrambles because they're like, what? And I'm like,
okay,
oh,
got it.
and I'm like, "Could I do
Yeah.
it that way though?" And it still works, and they're like, not sure." And I'm like, "All right, let me try the next step." And I just make it crazy, and it's actually formally how the tool is written. And then again, at the end, I say, "Okay, try to do it. Think about it again and try to do it." And they just hear like my Donald Duck voice or like and it feels off and their body can't retrieve it the same way.
Fascinating.
Mhm.
Fascinating. So, when was the first time that you had this work done to you?
Yeah, so 2013 and 14. I was studying to be a neurolinguistic programming practitioner. And so as you're getting your prac, you need to also receive the work as well. I did that through, yeah, receiving my certifications in hypnosis and NLP then. And then I got my training 3 years ago.
Cool.
And yeah, so able to certify people now.
What have you discovered about yourself?
Yeah. The first time I did, so timeline therapy, so there's 4 certifications in my, training that I have. It's neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, timeline therapy, and then neurolinguistic programming coaching. So the first time I did timeline therapy, I received it on myself. I was newly trying to become a, coach and do hypnotherapy for people full time and was kind of shy about sharing what I was doing. And so did the timeline therapy, not necessarily for that, just was open to the procedure. And so with timeline therapy, there's an opportunity to ask your unconscious mind what was the very first event that had this limiting decision or this negative emotion come in. If you were to know, was it before, during, or after your birth? And
Mm.
what we instruct people is to just kind of trust whatever pops in, regardless of your belief system about past lives or things being handed down genealogically. Like, best benefit if you could just trust whatever the first thing that pops in, because this is really an unconscious mind tool. So mine was before my birth, past life. And then you float over your timeline over to the past. You look down on the event and you just notice what's happening. And I had an image pop in of what I thought to be myself in a past life, standing in front of like a rock wall. I can still see it. And there was some knowing that I had been practicing some type of alternative work, whether it was hypnosis or something. and that I was going to be stoned to death because I was practicing this.
Wow.
And so whether that was something that actually happened or whether it was just the fact that I grew up in upstate New York and Salem witch trials was in my textbook and I right, doesn't really matter because
Right.
I still had a really powerful breakthrough,
Mhm.
right? That then led me to feel free from that fear and anxiety I was having, and then was able to powerfully and confidently share what I was doing moving forward, getting in my unconscious mind that, like, you're safe in this time to practice this now without concern about anyone doing that to you again. So it's
Nice.
an example to share.
Nice. That's really cool. I have one last question that I love to leave the audience with, and it's how has stress saved your life?
Ooh, I love that. Oh my gosh. So the first thing that came to my mind was I was in a really not great car accident when I was in college. And it was snowy and we were on the highway and we ended up just sliding and then the car flipped over 3 times the side of the road. And I kind of knew as we were sliding that things weren't doing great. So I felt stressed in that moment. And I just like put my hand on the little handle in the back seat and started saying a prayer, like, just help me make it through this. And so as I experienced the car rolling, yeah, I got, anyway, looking back at it now, it was like there was, we, the, we were on the driver's side and the other side of the car hit a tree and the entire backseat of the car, the thing was down next to me. And I was just in this tiny little cocoon of a hole. If I was on the other side, I would have been completely dead.
Oh my
Um,
god.
and there was like other, divine thing. I was supposed to sit on that side of the car. Anyway, that was just what
Wow.
popped into my mind.
I
Um,
mean, yeah, saying a prayer. I'm like thinking about I was making a joke the other week about like holding on to that thing. Like sometimes when you're stressed, it just feels really good. And it just kind of drops your shoulder down automatically too. Oh
yes,
my goodness. But wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
all these things.
All these
Wish it was
things.
more, but cool
And,
question.
but sometimes when you are feeling stressed and you take that moment to acknowledge it, it really can actually help you in that moment. And I think people often forget about.
Yeah, on the less severe standpoint, that if you feel stressed in the body, I think it can be great to just pay attention to it. I know when I was really grappling with leaving my nursing job or doing coaching full time or continuing to
Mhm.
get my master's in nursing or whatever, that was really tough for me. And I every single day when I was working as a nurse, I felt just tremendous anxiety, tremendous stress. And
Yeah.
I'm a high performer, and I like don't fail at anything I do. I always figure it out, and I find a way to
Right.
succeed. But I had this kind of aha moment of being like, what if this anxiety, though, is like my body trying to tell me that I am not on the right path?
Hmm.
And so, in a way, I could say that stress saved my life. It also brought me to meditation, which completely changed everything. So,
Yeah.
I think if we can, yeah, celebrate the stress and or whatever action it causes us to take, it can really save our lives.
Thank you so much for coming on here. I
Mhm.
absolutely enjoyed our conversation. You are so wise and also very authentic. And I know people are going to really connect with you. How can people find your work and connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for that. And thanks for having me. I loved our conversation too. I'm excited to have you on the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast as well. And that's probably a great thing, easy for people to flip channels if they want to the Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss podcast. I think I got about 250 episodes on there and just really sharing my journey. Can start from episode 1 if people want to. And then on Instagram. So Leslie M. Thornton, just kind of share my stuff there. So if anyone wants to connect that way, send me a message. I'm in there all the time. Yeah, and then publicly, people know me for the weight loss, but then I have that other track if anybody wants NLP training. So my website, hpwl.co, if you want the help with the weight stuff. And then kind of a little bit more challenging link, but if you're interested in training stuff, it's hpwl.info/NLP1, number 1.
Thank you so much. And everyone, As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing your takeaways. And remember to be kind to yourself on the self-love journey. Take care. If you're still listening to this episode, that means you're going to receive something very special, some insights into what's in store this season. Yes, don't worry. I have amazing guests that are going to be hopping on the pod, sharing their stories, tips on how to reduce stress, and of course, healthy solutions. What you are going to get in addition to that are more stories from me. You see, the word of 2025 for me is speak. And I want to speak more because oftentimes we silence ourselves. We take a back seat. And so I want to share stories with you where maybe I failed at something, but it taught me a lesson, or I took a risk and it really paid off. These are the moments that we all should continue to share. And I want you to know that wherever you're at, you can do it too. It's just taking a step forward so then you can have some momentum to take the next series of steps to hit that goal. I can't wait to share them with you. So make sure that you subscribe to Stress Free SOULutions today. And don't forget to share with your friends, your coworkers, your family. And of course, as always, I want you to be kind to yourself on this self-love journey. Thanks to Dan Lieber at Beckett Brown Music for the intro and outro music. You can keep in touch with me on Instagram at Sarah Elise Coaching. If you're looking to improve your health and wellness, check out my business, livewellenhanceyou.com. While you're there, join the Live Well Enhance You email list and receive exclusive offers for our wellness programs and events. Until next time, take care.